flowers because I really like that like big cartoony look is kind of what I like to focus on. So commissions are kind of a rarity for me, but hopefully with this panel we can teach you a little bit where you don't even need to get a commission, or maybe one day we'll be able to start taking them yourself. And here's just a little bit about me and some of my work. I'm 23 years old and I've been going to cons for 23 years. My parents are big nerds. Like my first con, I was a couple months old at Dragon Con, actually here in Atlanta. My parents are really big anime and sci-fi nerds. Been going to these my whole life, but I didn't really start taking wig styling very seriously until around 2022. And in just 3 years, I've been able to like just make sense stuff from like just straight out of the bag with just some whatever dollar store hair spray I can find, to some like really nice like stuff that I'm really proud of, like sculpting in just 2.5 years. It's just practice. It's just always styling this. And here's just a couple of things I do. I like to do a big variety, so I have like pompadours with hairlines. There's that Genshin Impact wig that I knew was gonna pop up within each wig. I like doing a lot of glued hairlines, glued ponytails, structures, spikes is what I really like to focus on. This was like the biggest project of my life. I did a full Jessie wig for Pokemon with just batting and wire and fibers, and it took hours, and we're gonna hopefully teach you a little bit about that. Hopefully we can get to some more advanced stuff like that today, but no pressure if we don't. We just wanna cover the bases.
Okay, cool, thanks. So that is our lovely wigs panelists for today. Before we get into like the nitty gritty, is anyone here like a wig stylist, or you guys have any people?
Kind of. Do we have any people interested in like wanting to like maybe like either improve for themselves or maybe take commissions one day? Awesome.
Okay, cool. Well, being here is a huge first step. Taking that leap, because I know a lot of people, they get like, I don't know where to start. I don't even know what to look at. I have no idea about any of this. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of get you in a really comfortable place so you have like a good footing to start. Guys, I'm gonna turn down the mic. Stop using nobody just.
I'm sorry, if we could get the Subway Surfers like playing on here, we would.
We just have it playing in the corner.
You can make it full size by yourself.
I'm a wig stylist, not a computer person. Although there is a computer con that's like
going on right over there. So if you have any technical questions, they're over there.
There we go. Go get one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're like over in the Omni stop and we had all our like wigs and stuff and just walking across.
Dude, the technical guys, they look fireable. I've been like stopped by more like technical college people than like actual. Anyway,
the girls are gonna get it.
The girls are gonna get it.
Okay. So one of the most important things I think about like when you think of wig styling is where do you get them? Up here is just like a couple of the brands. There's countless. If you are an old head, you've been going to cons for a while, you've probably seen Arda around. They usually have booths. I'm not sure if they have a booth here. But Arda wigs are very high end, like very thick, very full wigs. And they've got a very wide variety of the stuff that they have going on. Do you have any Arda wigs out here?
Anybody wearing Arda wigs today?
Ooh, we got one.
Okay.
Did you style that
This
wig?
one as well?
I did.
It's gorgeous.
Oh,
It
that
looks
was
very
great.
good.
Let's do that. That
That's
one I
like-
think is
that's
Arda.
really
That's
cool.
awesome.
Oh my god.
That's a lovely logistic that you did right there. That's great.
Wow. Another one, this is more of like a recently arised brand, is Epic Cosplay. They do not only wigs, but also cosplays that are like specific to characters. So if you'll buy the cosplay, they'll have the wig as well. Back in the day, there was no such thing as like a character specific wig. Like, it was you either spray paint your hair in gray or you just spray natural. They have hair paint.
You know, like you get at the beauty store at the mall and it doesn't
yeah.
do anything.
I can't judge. I used to use it for paint my eyebrows when I was young. So knowledge has come a long way, folks.
TLDR, don't do that.
Don't do that. So basically, don't listen to anything I say during this panel ever, because I put acrylic paint on my eyes.
It's been really cool to see the rise of like actual character-based wigs, where a lot of like Genshin characters will be like, here's like a half and half color or something like that versus like.
You guys are so cool to wigs together.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, and then, have you guys used Map of Beauty?
Oh,
That's a map of
Oh,
beauty.
Yeah, these are Map of Beauties. This is the Map of Beauty. Okay.
every wig, all my fancy wigs, not the beauty.
Okay, so Map of Beauty is probably the most easily accessible cosplay wigs that I think you can get. They are like always you can get them on Amazon, so you can get that like 1 day, 2 day shipping if you like shell out for Prime shipping. One thing for me that's really important is printing. I use my wigs, and I just find that like Map of Beauty and Epic Cosplay wigs really like thrive, not like.
You want it to
You want it to
Yeah.
fry if you're doing those big shapes or big spikes. I find that it fries and keeps the crimping the best. Same with Epic Cosplay wigs with Arda. If crimping's not really your style, if you do like those more natural style wigs, I would totally recommend an Arda wig. They are a little bit more difficult to get to like crimp up, but like if you really like that natural style, not really crimping or teasing, Arda wigs are a really great way
Yeah.
to go about
Stand
that.
that was an order.
Okay, so like the blonde short hair wig right there, that one is an Arda lace front. Dash, which is on the right side, that is two Arda wigs spliced together. So they're just very, very thick and very full and easy to work with if you need to do something like very close together.
Yes, and every one of these has their pros and cons, like Arda, and Arda is a small business, so it's always good to support that. They also have really good, thick amounts of wefts. I predominantly, once again, use Map of Beauty, but they are more sparsely lifted out, I would say. So like, for example, this wig right here, this wig right here, those are two, the base wigs were both 200 centimeter long wigs. And I would cut them up, splice them together, that sort of thing. So you kind of need to like, weigh your pros and cons. But also, once again, Map of Beauty, I think a 100 centimeter wig maybe goes for like $11 each.
Most
So
of
it's,
mine are like $9.
yeah, even
They're
less.
very
Even less. I always buy the 100 centimeter just because I really like to have those extra wefts or cosmetic wefts or making hairlines right there. So it's just like a matter of preference, I would say, with like your big acquisitions.
No.
I would recommend two. It's not on here, but it's one based in Europe, but they're really quick shipping here. If you guys have heard of Coscraft, it's like Arda, but cheaper despite being in euros, and they have that huge range of colors. One of the downsides of Map of Beauty is like if you get like the basic black, white, silver, gray, they'll have it. But if you need that super like pink to the 3rd degree with a tint of blue, then that's when you kind of need to go more towards the Arda Coscraft direction, and Coscraft is always in stock.
One of my actual, like, I was just talking about it the other day, one of my wig crafting friends who like does this professionally, she has started using Doki Doki wigs a lot too, which I personally have not tried out yet, but I have plenty of Doki Doki cosplays. Apparently their wigs are really, really good, also good for frying.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap too.
Yeah, they're like $6
their
a
character
pop,
wigs
like
are
you
like
gotta pay shipping.
$10.
Yeah, we gotta pay shipping and that kind of stuff, so it's just a matter of preference, really. And if you need to like take photos or anything throughout this panel, just like remember what brands what we use, whatever you need to do, guys.
I figured real quick, just while we're talking about like, we're using a lot of verbiages that are about like pieces of wigs. She's pretty sturdy, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off the mannequin for you guys. So wefts, for one, do I think this? Or she just, cool.
That's great.
All right.
Got her.
I got one of them.
Oh, maybe we should make this
Like a fish.
Next slide.
So you can kind of see on the inside here. You know, I already went to Red Fair. We could just
Yeah,
flip
we
them
could.
inside out.
Yours are pretty illustrative.
Yeah. So you can flip them all this way on. So you can kind of see where these tracks that have been sewn in with the hair are meeting this bigger structure that is like elastic. So that's what allows it to go up and over the back of your head. So these are what we call wefts. So for a lot of companies, if you need to do something where you have like a big crazy wig, or maybe you wanted to make sure you could like have extra hair to do any sort of pieces on it, a lot of companies will have it to where you can order extras of those in the same color, so that you can just go ahead and make sure everything matches. For trying to buy like 2 of the same wig. And, yeah, we're back.
Hard.
My
life is hard. I just buy 2 of the same wig.
I like ponytail wigs. You have to do that.
I usually
Yeah,
have
just
those
get
too.
those. Yeah, that's it.
Do you wanna go to the next one? Try and
Is that good matches?
I'm just a girl.
That's the girl. Hey.
Now.
Oh yeah, and one cool thing as well is like with like ponytail wigs and stuff like that, there are these things called, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, which are these claw clips that you can just, this is not gonna be even anymore, but you're all gonna be a lovely crowd and pretend that it's even, it's not, right? Wow. But I say, some people like to do the claw clips, and I would say it is the least painful option, but if you do want to go like that little extra mile, we will get into it later, there are these things called like ponytail-esque wigs, where these buns, she don't clip off, she is a permanent structure, and this keeps its shape on the inside, and it is like a complete helmet, and it perfectly will match your head. Really lovely. I have it facing the back just because like that's probably like the more impressive part to people, is like just like having just a visual of just like how the partings work. We'll get into that. Alright.
Let's see. Oh, okay. I should have kept the wig off the stand for this, but here's a bunch of different types of wigs and stands. No matter what wig you're working on, I don't know how you would do it without a wig head. There's quite a few different types. A lot of people you'll see with the styrofoam ones. Now this is an example of the female styrofoam wig head. It is tiny, it is cute, it is perfect. Obviously, this is not gonna be what this looks like when it's on her head.
No, gotta say this, I have a big old cranium, this is a dainty little lady. And so I promise you, this does look a lot more normal on my head than it does on this. It looks a lot more normal also on this type of wig head, which is this.
Canvas, a canvas wig head. These are very, very, very professional. A lot of people use this for like, while they're styling before transporting over onto like styrofoam wig heads for shipping and stuff like that.
I find that like you can get them in 23 inches if you measure around your head with a piece of like measuring tape. Most commonly in like women, for me at least, it's like 23, 24, 25 inches. And it just like is a more accurate, just kind of like size and shape of a wig head than this. I do recommend these if like you're in a pinch. You do not need a cork head to style a wig, that is not necessary. It's just, I find it a little bit easier to style bangs to just match my face a little bit better, because it's a little bit wider.
And I can't figure them out still, so I haven't touched them.
No, that's
I don't know
fair.
where my face is going to be on
This
that
is the
thing.
first con I actually styled wigs and cork heads.
That's a cool.
Yeah, first wig I did, first couple of wigs I ever did on a cork head, I was very scared.
I barely can line up with the male features.
I'm seeing a couple hands pop up every
Yeah.
now and then. I just wanted to let you guys know we're gonna pause really, really soon for questions. So hold on to this. We will get to you, I promise.
And this next one, this is just kind of like display type mannequin heads. I'm sure you've seen like a lot of like wig stylists on like TikTok or Instagram, just display things. So I just included that, just like if you're really proud of a wig, you should display it and you should feel proud of it. Don't throw that in that Walmart bag like I did for years and then just like leave it in a closet and then you move 4 years later and you're like, oh, that's where that went. Don't do that. Be proud of your work, take care of your work.
There's nothing more painful than we have a friend called Tina. And Erin exclusively like does all of Tina's wigs for her. And she's like, thank you! She'll wear it, we'll get to the cottage.
Let her cats play with it. I'm like, I spent 20 hours on that idiot wig, that's
The
fine.
amount of mutuals that asked me to borrow a wig from like 3 years ago and I'm like, about that. Anyway, moving on, wig stands, which I cannot stress enough. Like, I've recently, in the past 2 years, this is called a wig head clamp. I have seen the light. This is my favorite thing ever. You do not need it, but if you do like to get up close and personal and you have a desk or a kitchen table, anywhere like that, you can adjust it and do that, and the wig head just pops right on there. And you can get as close and personal as you want without having to awkwardly like dangle around just a massive wig stand or anything like that. This is now how I personally prefer to now style wigs, unless it's super, super long or super, super like complicated wig, like that just Pokemon wig I styled. But if you're working like really up close with like bangs or anything like that, this is awesome. And they're usually more affordable than those big tripod wig things. I think I got a pack pack of 3 of these for like $7 on Amazon. So they're very nice and very affordable, and they're really, really great for safely displaying your wigs, because you can just attach them to a bookshelf, a desk, anywhere like that, and it'll hold your wigs in place on top of your head. So they're really, really awesome if you like to display your stuff. Great.
There's also a secret third option.
Ooh, I want one.
I do. I'll have to have you come by later. So at my booth, I have a wig on display right now. I almost exclusively can only work on like industrial table stands because I beat the absolute crap out of my wigs to get them to get where they're at. I have to like, but there's a like handle on the bottom and a handle on the top that both turn, so you'll be able to change the size of how tall it is while it's on your table, and you'll be able to change the angle very, very similarly to the table clamp, but it just helps to be able to like pick it up and put it back down and everything like that. They're awesome.
That's great.
I have to use the stand.
I
I'm
get it.
literally the opposite of everything you guys say. I go all the way left. I'm like, I gotta use the stand. Otherwise my hair is gonna get all tangled around.
Is it like rabbit or rabbit?
I feel like we're having
Yeah.
we need to
Back to heat tools.
Yes, back to heat tools. We only have like 45 minutes.
So these are just some examples of a couple of the tools that are very commonly used. So I want to start with the last one because I just really want to talk about it. Crimpers became a thing a couple years ago. This was like, you'd see it in like the 80s and stuff all the time for like people texturing their hair and everything, but it really only styled within like the wig scene very recently, and now I feel like it's almost rare to see a wig that's not crimped. It's just a very easy and effective way to add a ton of volume very quickly and very efficiently. So,
And it also helps reduce the shine in your wigs, that little synthetic shine, that will help reduce that. And it also makes your wigs a lot less easy to tangle and a lot easier to untangle. So, gotta say, if you have like a fine tooth comb or a pick, anything like that, a crimped wig will untangle a lot easier than a just like uncrimped wig. But that's not saying you do not need to crimp your wig. Some people tease their wig, that's absolutely fine. It's just a personal preference. I think we all crimp our wigs.
I doesn't like crimping anymore.
I moved past. I'll yell about that.
Yeah, no.
I'll yell about that later. I'm a crimper at heart.
Okay, so more on the heat tool specifically. I feel like everyone's pretty much used half of these at least in your life, or have seen someone that have, but be it like the hair dryer or the straightener or curling iron. Wigs are actually typically made of synthetic materials. They're plastic. So it works a lot differently than human hair does unless you have a human hair specific wig. So you have to be really, really careful when you're looking at, is this wig heat resistant? Am I just gonna hit this with my blow dryer and it's going to burn itself alive? Or what's gonna happen with that? All of the brands that we mentioned previously, those are all heat resistant wig brands. But it's important to know like how these tools are gonna affect the plastic fiber specifically. So even for like lower temp ones where you're not able to use heat on it, you could still get away with like, yeah, tossing the curling iron to the side, being like, can't really use a lot of heat on this, and just doing something like rollers, and then using a steamer, because the steamer will add heat to it indirectly, so it won't light anything on fire most likely, or I don't want to be responsible for anyone lighting their wig on fire.
Get this
Hot
woman
water.
in a PR room stat.
Lynnjutsu burnt my wig to death. It's just a very easy way to like add organic heat to something without it getting crazy. But
It's scary.
It's also really great, like steamers and strainers are great because like those crimp marks, you don't always want to see those. So steaming is a very easy way to like, because when you crimp, it's going to get huge. And 90% of the time, unless you're doing those huge 90s bangs and you didn't sew 2 wigs together, you're not going to want that volume.
Do I give a little life hack that I do about crimping? A little life hack about crimping is that, believe it or not, my wigs, they look huge, they look very cartoonish, but I do not tease and I only crimp over them twice. And what I do is I do not crimp horizontally, like I do not like section out the wefts, and I do not crimp horizontally. What I do is in very small sections, talking tiny microscopic sections, I crimp gives me that volume, and it also helps reduces the crit marks. So those little horizontal crit marks you see on some wigs, some people like that as a stylistic choice. I've seen a lot of wigs and a lot of the crafters do that. I really like how it turns out. For me, I like a little bit less noticeable crit marks. So if you print in small vertical sections, it does give you less noticeable crit marks, but just as much volume. So it's really, really handy.
We do the same.
Yeah, you did
We do the same.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
I think it was Maddie that put us on that actually.
It was Maddie.
I
It
was
was.
like, do this vertically.
It was Maddie.
Brushes and combs. So, like, it seems like it's not something that would be important, but it really, really is. This can affect something so greatly.
Anyone looking for seats too? There are a bunch of them.
Up front,
There's, like,
do not be
sections of
scared, we do
grades,
not
you're
bite
you're all good.
much.
We will call on you, this isn't audience participation.
If you come up here, I'm gonna pick you and make
You
you
don't
answer a math question. Personally, I really, really like to use carbon tools. We don't have any opinions. I'm picky. I am very picky with the stuff that I use for barbershop. So carbon is just like a very, very dense material, and because I'm so rough with my stuff when I'm doing it, it won't snap out on me, which is usually my number one problem with like any sort of comb or anything. What are you guys' favorite brushes?
I like my rat tail comb. So the rat tail comb is really good for sectioning out. So when we were talking about crimping earlier and sectioning out those webs, what we mean is by like you're going to take some, you're going to see it later. Here are these different types of clips you can get, either alligator clips or claw clips, anything like that. And rat tail combs are really, really great for sectioning out those small bits of webs on your thing to either crimp it, to move it. Also really good for just like combing things out really quickly, and you can also turn around if there's any tangles. That little like actual like rat tail part of the comb is really good for untangling things, for getting things like quickly, like if you're like gluing down glue webs, which we will get to and stuff like that. It's really handy for that. So I'd say rat tail.
I really like the teasing brush. It's like a bristle brush, but it's just very condensed and it's like thin like a rat tail. I like to kind of, depending what it is, I like to brush back as I'm crimping. So I just already have that volume, I don't have to go back. But the rat tail, I love for my Final Fantasy wigs because they have like those very like natural piecey but stylized pieces. And so if you like steam it and you go in with the sharp point of the rat tail comb and you're like going through lines, it looks like more individualized hairs. And because it's steamed, the way it melts the fibers without like burning it, you can shake your head, you can flip off, like it won't move. So you get those very stylized pieces without actually having to do 90% of the work.
That's how I flipped that wig inside out earlier and then put it right back out.
Yeah.
Also, quick question, who here has crimped a wig before? Okay, a good number of us, and who has teased a wig before?
My people.
Oh, really? I was just wondering, because I personally, I do not tease my wigs. I do not tease my wigs, but like, once again, like that bristle brush and teasing brush, back when I used to tease, I did use bristle brush. Thing brush, but both of which are really, really good options to get volume in your wig. So like any of these brushes are like, wrong way to go. Just a regular black brush is really good. I honestly, I really recommend Wet Brushes. That's a brand I'm pretty sure most people are pretty familiar with that brand. They're also great for synthetic hair such as wigs. And a rolling brush is just really, honestly, I think Maddie put me onto it, and I don't even really know what I use it for, but I use it a lot.
I like the rolling brushes for like those like 80s bangs. Like if I do like mid-bang, cause like you'll just steam it and it's just like boom, the perfect curl. And you're like, I'm done.
You will soon find out that a lot of wig styling is just trial and error and just figuring out things as you go. People are like, use this, and you're like, okay, and then you bang it against a styrofoam head until something clicks. That's what majority of wig styling truly is, and there is no wrong way to do it. If you are proud of what you make, you should be proud of what you make.
We all do it very differently.
Yes.
We all, Lynn is the one who taught me, and I do nothing like Lynn anymore. We are nowhere near on the same spectrum.
Yeah. Speaking of which, another thing that's just interesting to see how like differently people do things. Like rat tail combs, I can't use them. I can't use a rat tail comb to do any of like my styling stuff. I have to use the edge of my shears which when we get to the point, I'll explain how I use shears to like section things off, but like I think it really does just boil down to like how you're practicing, like, and which path you're taking while you're learning. There's an infinite amount of ways to learn how to do things. Has anyone in here used Got to Be?
See your hands.
Oh gosh, love Got to Be. It's probably a good percentage of my lungs before I found out that what are these called?
I call them ventilators.
Yeah.
Do as we say, not as we do.
Yes.
In terms of like proper hairspray, open a window. Don't be like locked in a closet or like locked in your basement, craft room, whatever. Please like open a window. Once again, you should be fine unless you are really going at it. Like if you are sitting at that desk for hours on end a day, if you're gonna get really into wig styling commission days, it does have long-term bad effects on your lungs. So if you're just like sitting down doing your hair for a night out, that's fine. Or like if you're just working on like one wig for each con every 4 months, you'll be fine. But like long-term exposure is not good, and cosplay safety should be taken seriously.
Yes.
So please take care of your lungs. We would gotta say, take care of yourself.
Yes. Got to Be hacked because they do sell it in Kroger, but it is infinitely cheaper at hair stores.
Yes.
So if you find somewhere that's like Empire Beauty or any hair store like that,
Yeah,
they
so
will
support
typically
your-
have
Support your
your small
local beauty.
businesses.
Yeah, but
Yes.
support your local like beauty supply stores, beauty supply chains. That's where I get majority of like my tools, my clips, anything like that. Atlanta has a really good amount of these beauty supply stores, so if you are local, definitely check them out. They will get you a good deal. And honestly, if you get really into styling, you'll be there all the time. Still hook you up.
I'm beauty mecca till I die. Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier. So, my bread and butter is cutting things in a way properly so that when they lay down, it is already in the shape that it needs to be. Stylus scissors is actually what I use to like section out everything, because you have a very specific way that you're supposed to hold them. Your ring finger is gonna go in that one that has the thing that's like outside of it. That's called a tang, and your pinky will sit on the tang, and it does that so that you're able to bring your thumb in and up towards it. And if you are just cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting, that is going to be the way to keep yourself from getting carpal tunnel. Here's carpal tunnel.
I actually like.
So yeah, it's just you learn how to maneuver things a bit easier. It's one of those things that, again, it just comes with practice. If you're stuck in a classroom for 10 hours a day just using scissors all day, you're gonna be able to flip it around and be crazy. We have thinning shears. Do you guys use thinning shears often?
It is my
I can't
bread and
figure
butter.
it
I
out.
can't live without my
We're just
thinning
passing.
shears. I literally like, it's your food. Thinning shears, they are phenomenal for me. I do these things which you're gonna see later on called cosmetic bangs, which is I style what is called face bangs, which might be like, what is face bangs? We're gonna
The really crazy looking part.
crazy
before you make
part.
it smooth.
Before you make, see how like a lot of my wigs up here, they're very like smooth and like kind of thing. So what this is like what I call, there's actually a layer of bangs underneath, and it might look a little crazy. And what I do is that I take extra wefts and I glue them on, and I carefully like steam and style and shear them using those thinning scissors into shape. So that's how, like, for example, a lot of people like me who likes doing more like figure-esque and cartoony and plastic style looking wigs, that is how they get that clean look with that height. Is all of the like crazy looking like spikes that like doesn't look neat and put together, that's all underneath. What's over top are those cosmetic layers that makes it look nice, smooth, and neat. And thinning shears is really how I'm able to like really achieve that. Once I glue on those cosmetic layers, I can thin that right down. That's also how you get like non-blunted cuts, so it's not like a straight cut across, nice and thin. So thinning scissors is my way to go, 100%.
I would highly recommend looking into different projections for what you need to achieve specific cuts. So if you think about it, I'm gonna sorry, I'm turning my back to you.
No, you're good.
Actually, wait, we have wig heads. Can you pass me my last over here? Yeah. This works even better. These are those wig clips we were talking about. He's not usually a pigtail girly. Okay, so the curvature of a head, right? We all know what heads look like. They're out further here than they are on either side, and then slope in. There's math involved. As
It's
scary
scary,
and terrible
it's
as that
scary,
is,
folks.
there is math involved. Because if you think about it, if you're grabbing a layer of hair, if I'm grabbing a layer of hair and I'm pulling it all the way out and I'm cutting it at one point, when that falls down, all the hair that's closer to the front is gonna be shorter than the hair that's fallen towards the bottom. So it'll do like this number. And if I hold it all the way up here and do that, that's at an even higher like incline. If I hold it just straight down and do a blunt crust across, then that's how you get a blunt cut. But I would highly recommend checking like Pinterest and stuff for those different projections for especially like female long-haired haircuts for when you want something that's like, it has layers up here but also in the bottom versus like just trying to pull all the hair down and do a blunt cut across, because that's how you're gonna get those layers in like a pretty easy way. Yeah. So we'll just keep going for like 15 minutes and then we'll open up for Q&A for anyone that has questions. Sorry, we just looked at the right under tacky gel.
Yeah.
Get here, yeah.
I think you got hacked.
Yeah, man.
Totally got you.
So there are different types of glue that you can use for wigs. Not every wig needs glue, but if you want those nice sealed spikes and stuff like that, like for example, over on this, the reason why this doesn't come apart and she stays good and like secure is because I glue the tips of my spikes. And there are different ways you can use glue. If you want to use batting, I use batting in all of my wigs, and you're gonna mainly see them in like those glue ponytail wigs, stuff like that, just to like, you're gonna cover them over the hairline. That's what you use to attach batting, is usually hot glue, at least that's what I personally use. Tombow glue is a really good clear gel glue that is really good for making like hairlines, or wet or extra wefts, stuff like that. It makes it like very just nice and transparent, which is what you want with those extra wefts. Uhu is a German-based, pretty like strong glue. About to say it doesn't smell too great. It's pretty intensive stuff. It's safe for skin. It's safe. Whatever you see online being, don't eat it. But like it's safe to put the containers with the little like tube right there. They burst apart so easily. I keep mine in a little plastic bottle. It's completely safe to do that. It's really fine to do that. And another good thing also for weft making is Eileen's Clear Gel Tacky Glue. Another really good thing for weft making cosmetic layers. That's what I predominantly use to make my wefts. And then once that's dry and completely transparent, I take the Uhu glue and put it on the bottom of the weft, right where I glued it, and attach it like that. It's because Uhu glue can get really filmy and it doesn't really dry transparent, and so it's mainly good for just those out of sight attachment places.
Sorry, I was like, I just reached over here and I was like, do they still sell tacky glue places because they closed Joann's?
Yeah. It's everywhere.
Amazon, yeah.
Yeah,
I think they
Amazon.
also Hobby
They have it
Lobby.
at Walmart.
Michaels.
Yeah.
It's just like a run-of-the-mill fabric tack, so. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
fabric
they're-
tack, it's fabric glue. Yeah, tacky
And
glue
it's
is fabric
because
glue.
tacky glue
There's
is
stuff every day.
flexible still. Any of those flexible glues are considered fabric glues.
Yeah, and then sectioning and pins.
What?
You are the absolute queen of using pins in your
You need 1,000.
I'll come out of my room. Me and Aaron are roommates, by the way. I'll come out of my room and there will be like a styrofoam like head, and it just is like 80 pins in the front of it. It's really
I'd say if your wig heads don't look like saw traps. Then
Yeah, it looks like Hellraiser. It looks like Hellraiser, because I like mine with a lot of my Final Fantasy wigs because they are so PC and stylized. I'll go like how Lynn was showing off the weft by weft. I will like go one at a time. I will section it with the pins, and then I will steam it, and I will gel it and hairspray it until I move on to the next
You
layer.
scared me.
I'm very dedicated to
I'm
my
scared
Final
right now.
Fantasy character.
But yeah, there are different ways to like both sectioning and pins. The first ones right here are what I predominantly use. What do we even call these? They're not
Those are crocodile clips.
crocodile clips. Thank you, because the ones at the end on the
They like
those are alligator.
Two guys.
Those are great for just like if you're wanting to focus on just one area of the wig, you can just take these clips and just like move them right out of the way. It holds the hair out of the way. T-pins, you can see right here, are just great ways to both section out parts, like especially the bangs, but they're also phenomenal for keeping your beautiful, lovely wig on the head so she don't fall.
I really like using those for lace fronts because it kind of holds the lace down a little bit.
Oh, really?
You know, just pin along the side. Front.
And then next, sewing pins. If you really don't want to use T-pins, you can absolutely use sewing pins because more often than not, you probably have more sewing pins lying around than T-pins. And then next is what I like to call lobotomizing your wig. These are kitchen skewers. I love kitchen skewers.
I didn't recognize them. They look so small
They
there.
look so small
I've
there.
seen your skewers and they're like
huge. I gotta say, if you're not like, once again, saw trapping your wig head is all what wigs are about. These are really, really great for making those like glued hairlines in widow's peak where the hair is like at a point here and then falls down. That like they are phenomenal just for like holding up those wefts as they dry and making sure that they have that curvature to make sure it falls perfectly from that widow's peak down. It's just like, it's really, really great. I will say like, you're gonna put some holes in your wig heads, and I probably would not, most of the time when I do that, I style that with my styrofoam wig heads, just because, hey, a styrofoam wig head is like what, like $5, and a cork wig head is like 20. So you're gonna want to try and keep like your cork wig heads as pristine as you possibly can for as long as you can, because they're not as easily like financially you can throw away. And then alligator clips, pretty much the same as your crocodile clips at the front that we already talked about. I don't use them super often because they are metal, so they do keep heat a lot easier than the crocodile clips, which are plastic, and so that can kind of warp your fibers if you're like holding like your hair dryer or your steamer and you're focusing on this one section and you're a little bit too close to those alligator clips. Those can warp your fibers, and it's not too big of a deal. You can just take your rat tooth comb and the steamer and just straighten it out again, and it'll be fine. But I just personally like to avoid just having to have that extra step. But they are a great way, and they are kind of easier to find in like beauty supply stores than those crocodile clips.
good deal cheaper too.
And like with the difference too, because I don't really use alligator clips as much, crocodile clips, you can get a big chunk of hair because it has like groupies in it. So it'll really grip like the big chunks and move it. The alligator clips will slip out if you get too adventurous with it. And you try to like grab a huge section. You're like, this one clip will hold it.
Your alligator clips are gonna be around this big, and your crocodile are gonna be about this big. And they come in pretty colors, so like.
And then also with the lace fronts, if you are putting pins in your lace, before you cut the lace is the ideal time, because if you have those really big like skewers or a really thick pin, that will punch holes in your lace. So if it's too close to your hairline, that can tear. And so when you're cutting it, it can look a little jagged if you put it too close. So if you feel comfortable doing it, don't cut the lace until like after you style the wig, and then you can put it at the edges and you don't have to worry about any holes in your lace.
I feel like the most contradictory guy ever, because I would recommend alligator clips. It's just a matter of, you've got a lot of different materials for very specific things. So personally, my favorite time to use those specific clips are gonna be if you have curlers in. They're made to go in the curler at the very end of it to hold the end of the curl down in to your wig.
I think they're in here somewhere. I think I did put curlers in there. So
Curlers are
it's
great.
gonna point exactly what you're pointing at.
Yeah, if you've ever seen like an old cartoon with like a mama with all her curlers,
Curlers
that's what we're
in. You ever watch
talking about.
Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Yes.
If you were a cool kid, you know
But-
exactly what we're talking about.
Those are just really good for holding like the ends of curls down in with the curler itself.
Okay, this is scary stuff. So this stuff
We don't
isn't-
have to get super into
we're not gonna get super into stuff like this, because this is once again intro into wig styling. If you have like any like really intensive questions, like we're gonna start answering those in like 5-7 minutes. But I'd love to show you, but unfortunately these buttons aren't detachable. But there are these things called structures, like those big gravity defying wigs that you see. That is through pipe, foam, insulation board, and like, oh gosh, what's that called? Foam, upholstery
Cushion,
foam,
yeah.
upholstery foam. That is what all of that is made out of. It's like, it's not, they might look soft, they might look edible, they're not. I was about to say, I hope you have a good dentist, they're not edible, do not eat those. But that is like what this is, for example. This on the inside actually has galvanized steel strapping, scary, scary, wires, tin foil, foam clay, and piping. And that is what is all underneath this hair here, on top of bag as well. And so those are just like, we're not going to get too into that because there are lovely tutorials on YouTube and on TikTok on glued hairline wigs, glued ponytail wigs that can go by that step by step for you way better than I could. But I just got to say, but since this is basics, we got to give you all the supplies that you're going to need.
Oh yeah,
for that.
yeah.
But and just a heads up, doing these kinds of structures, like this wig right here took me 44 hours. This was a 44-hour wig, and I styled it in like 4 days. So these things like are a commitment, and they are a lot of time, but they are so worth it, and you will feel so proud of yourself like when you do finish it. And so I will just say, like, just a heads up on that. This like glued wigs like this, you will want to start like at least a month and a half before your wig, because if you have like a 9 to 5, you might only have like maybe an hour or two a day to work on this kind of stuff. So just like be sure to like treat yourself kindly too. Like it's everyone's like first time doing something constantly. So just be kind to yourself throughout it.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna do the thing again. If you want to see a crazy structured wig, booth 113. I have like an insane Miku wig over there that is mostly of this pink insulation foam. So
I was eyeing that earlier. I love that wig.
thank you. Feel free to stop by. Unless my clients already picked it up, it should be there on the
It's stolen.
display. I just go there and I'm like, sorry.
You're gonna find it in my room like 2 days from now.
Just a bunch of miscellaneous supplies. We've been throwing around the word quilt batting a little bit. That's this stuff here. It's actually made to like go in between like the cotton layers on a quilt, but it melts down in just like a soft and spongy enough way that it's very good to use for like these base structures. I know you use it for a lot of bang stuff.
Oh yeah, I put it over my base bangs to give that extra height to all of my wigs. And
there's that galvanized strapping.
that galvanized strapping, baby. That's just to like secure piping and stuff like that. Honestly, if there is any tip that I can give you that I am like, apply this, please. I got this from a wig maker friend. It's changed my life. Saran wax wrap. Say that 8 times. Say that 8 times fast. Saran wax wrap. You just wrap that around your wig head. Doesn't matter if it's a cork. Doesn't matter if it's a styrofoam wig head. Wrap that around your wig. Hit it with the heat gun, and it will like mold to the shape of the wig head, and it prevents your head from getting yucky from hairspray. It prevents, if you have a cork head, mold from growing in through the steamer and moisture. It's just a great way just to keep your wig your wig head just nice and clean, and so you can reuse it as many times as you need. And they're also great if you want to be crazy and start airbrushing your wigs. That's also a great way to make sure your mannequin head doesn't get like all discolored and like distracting.
This is just some more miscellaneous stuff. It looks like a lot of this is about coloring. You'll see a lot of people will use eyeshadow or dyes or paints or even airbrushing to add a lot of things like dimension. You can see it pretty well in these buns here that there's airbrushing in to add dimension, so that even when you're looking from far away, you can tell which direction those hairs are going.
The front is like, she's tilted in the front right now. I apologize, but you can see I used airbrushing on the tips of this, here, little gradient there. Did I use them on the back? Yeah, I did. On the back.
Oh yeah.
I can't even remember. This entire week was a fever dream.
And you know, if you're not able to get like an airbrush or anything like that, but you still want to have that like good dimension look, eyeshadow. Honestly, you could just stipple some eyeshadow in there.
I'm gonna be evil. Just to give you some confidence on this wig, which is like still one of my favorites that I've made to this day. If you watch Urusei Yatsura, I love you, love is my girl. This entire thing was shaded with eyeshadow. Just a random like $5 palette off Amazon and just a little acrylic paint for highlights. You do not need a big, nice, fancy airbrush machine to get really cool like gradient effects. You do not need that.
Yeah. I think a lot of like the really fun part about like when you're just starting to learn is like discovering all of these new like little hacks and stuff.
The drill. I'm gonna let you explain. What is that? Is that like a soldering knife?
Oh, that's for upholstery foam.
You're all crazy.
So this is
I
like,
just do
so this is
this.
where it's like I feel like a freaking mad scientist because I like doing these like gravity defying things.
Here's where we're freaking
So these are wires. So I actually do have them in this wig right here. Makes them nice and foldable. Drill is if you have those pipings in here and you want to add screws just to like really keep that galvanized steel wire.
The
we
metal
talked
strap,
about
okay.
The metal strapping.
We're just lobotomizing.
We're just lobotomizing and just that's handy for that. Wire cutters for that. This is a electric knife. Please be safe and please use lovely hand grips for that. Don't ask me how I know that. And that's really good for cutting your upholstery foam or your upholstery board. Dremel, ruler. This is really great. This is just an X-Acto knife. Most people have that. Really great for removing wefts.
We did it.
We
We're
did
in the
it, folks. We're
Q&A.
at the Q&A. Those are like your supplies, basic things. And what time is it?
We're right at the 10-minute
Okay,
mark.
right at the 10-minute mark. So does anyone have any specific questions at all in the room?
Yes. So, my first time actually teasing things. I was wondering, do you guys have any advice for, I guess, after teasing and applying steam, smoothing out? I know, like, 'cause I watched a YouTube video, and like, I know, like, maybe brushing out the top layer to maintain the volume. But do you have anything else, like, in terms of like making it smoother after you like vacuumed it?
That's probably for yours. I'm trying to see if I have any.
I'd love to answer this one actually. So the steamer that I have is actually the one that was like shown on the PowerPoint earlier. It has a trigger to it, which makes life a lot like easier for me at least. They're like $10 at Walmart, but I usually have to pull up the cosmetic layer and get the steamer like right on it. And then I go with the shape that I'm trying to have it in, and then I usually just kind of brush it down with my hand and let it dry. A big portion of it is making sure that whenever you're using heat, you're letting things cool entirely or dry entirely before moving on. Because if you have it and it's like you're using steam, it's gonna be wet. As soon as you move something, it's gonna shift and immediately just become a different shape from what you're trying to go for.
Yes.
Well, I have a wig that's a little too nice, a little too silky. I want it to be not stiff, but just like
Fluffy.
A little bit more moldable, maybe.
Crimping.
Crimping, baby.
Crimping kills that
That's it.
shininess.
Crimping, baby,
Yeah.
is great.
Or teasing. Or teasing.
If you want the easy way, crimping.
Ah.
If you want to spend an extra 3 hours, you can do that.
Yeah, you want to be Mr. Try Hard.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, this is like a really good example of
Yeah,
that.
This is like a really good way.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
saying. See, so this PowerPoint right here is actually something that I made a year ago when I thought I would do a panel all by myself, and then I got scared and forgot about it and never did it. So there is like a lot left that is just unfinished, but we were like, since it is
Just
soup time. Soup time. But this is a wig. This is actually back when I both crimped and teased my wigs. This right here
Right on.
is a great example. This is the wigs fresh out the bag. That's it after crimping and teasing, and that's it after styling. I actually think I wore that to Momo 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Full circle. If any of you have any Chainsaw Man fans out there.
Company.
Yes. So this is a great example of a wig that has been both crimped and teased. I just found that because I use batting and stuff like that and cosmetic layers, I didn't, like once I started doing that, I didn't really need the extra volume that teasing gave me. But if you do not want to tack on that extra like 8 hours of gluing on cosmetic wefts and restyling the veins all over again, you tease that wig. You tease that wig.
Also, make sure when you're crimping, you want brush right, left,
Right.
under, and over. It will make it way bigger than if you just brush it one way. You want to brush it from every direction, and then while it's still hot, I like to brush it to the one I just did, because otherwise sometimes I like to separate.
Yeah.
So that way it just looks like one solid like whole thing.
does heat make it kind of more silky, or does that kind of tighten it up?
It tightens it. I would say it'll tighten up the fibers and make it a lot firmer. Which is what's really good with crimping because it is texturizing because once again, it's plastic, so you are gonna be texturizing that plastic, so.
I got a hate comment a while back. I posted like this little, here's how you add texture to your wig tutorial. And the person was like, why is it crunchy? And I was like, because you need it to be crunchy to give it volume. You really, really want to just wreck it.
Can
Like,
you go
just
in
absolutely
my
wreck it.
comment sections for me too?
We'd be like, why is it crunchy?
Not like that.
Every post.
I think we had one more question.
Yeah, we have one.
Oh.
How do you transport your wigs?
Ooh. So I have this big like I don't know how you guys do it, but for me, I was tempted to bring it, but I'm like, I'm not carrying that all the way from South Tower of Omni, where I'm staying. Don't dox me.
Where I'm staying.
Don't dox me at the South Tower at all.
So I have this big, just like, how would
The Costco cardboard?
No, it's
I like
like
the
a
Costco.
full-on like tote, like
Oh,
full-on
yeah, this
heavy-duty tote with that my roommate wrote fragile on wrong, and it's like heavy-duty. It's a man.
Well, I was saying roommate.
Roommate.
Because it was you who wrote fragile wrong.
No, it was me.
It's a bit, guys.
It's a bit. Anyway, I'm like, what? I'm like, what? Okay. That is what I use, and what I do is that I'm usually carrying. I'm like wearing 8 cosplays this con, so I'm usually bringing 8 wigs, and I fit them all in that tote bag. And what I do, there are safer ways to do this, but because my wigs are so big and like pretty foamy and like pretty indestructible, like they're just like so firmly in shape that I don't have like loose glue, like it's all glued, so they're not going anywhere. I cover it with Walmart or shopping bags, and then I position them from most dearest to my heart to whatever, in terms of like safety in this nice massive tote. And the important thing is, if you are transporting your wigs, do not leave them in your car
Oh my god.
longer than 10 minutes, because once again, heat styles wigs. If you leave those beautiful synthetic lovely plastic wigs that you poured your heart into in those nice hot cars in the south, they will mold to whatever shape they are against each other, pushed up against each other. And with my wigs, there is no way to fix that for the kinds of wigs that I make, because they are so heavily structured and so glued down. There's no way to fix that. So you want to really be sure to, like, when you are transporting your wigs, transport them right, cover them with grocery bags, have piping. If you want to go the extra mile, have piping to really keep the heads down there secure to the bottom of the tote. That is how
I like the Costco little boxes they give
They're
you
cool.
for free.
They're like
And you put your foam wig head
walls.
in there and you just put pins underneath and that's not moving. and they usually come with like the edges up too. So I can fit about 4 or 5 wigs and they're not touching each other. Like I have like a little cheap Amazon like wig stand that's just for display purposes. You won't want to step on it. But it helps raise the wig head, and so I'll have one on that, and I'll have like 3 around at the bottom, and you just put the pins underneath and it goes right into those foam heads and they will not move. If you put 4 in, it goes right through the cardboard, you don't have to apply a lot of pressure, and then when you reach in to get them from the top, they just come up, you're not messing with tape, you're not having to take anything off, because I'm not doing quite that structured. My stuff's pretty stable too, mine's like theirs, where like it's steamed, it's hairsprayed, it's gelled, like it's not moving anywhere. But if I put a plastic bag on, because I do have a lot of PC wigs, then that's gonna ruffle stuff or frizz it, and I try to avoid that. So usually I like my top open, and then I don't have to worry about anything flying out the box or anything like that.
I use cardboard and my friend's hands.
I'd say and yes.
What do you do like if the wigs are like too small, so they're like painfully tight?
Ooh, one thing that I do know that like I have like my face is wide, but my cranium is kind of small. What I've seen people do is that some people do very small little vertical cuts in the inner part of, like, you know how Lynn picked up. Yeah, if you can do it again, if you can pick that up again.
I
that
can
would
burst
be
back into that bad
awesome.
guy. So this is something I've had to do. I've had a similar situation with my bash wig for tomorrow, where I will just cut and sew. That's not how this one is, but oh, well, perfect. You can cut along some of these to kind of alleviate some of that tightness.
as well as in a lot of wigs, you'll see they have these tabs. A lot of people will use these for like going under the chin strap to keep it structured onto the thing. They're meant for like tightening or loosening how you want your wig to be. If you've got one that's too tight, I would recommend just unloosening that and just having it be open. So as long as you tuck that in.
What if that's like still not enough?
Then cutting into it should be okay. You could always like cut into the circumference of it, because that'll take the pressure off of like here to the back, especially like right behind the ear. And then you can either add more wefts, or even just like if you've got like a longer wig, I don't really even think you need to worry about adding any hair or like sewing anything else into it.
One quick question. So like, with the blue one, you mentioned it was kind of like a helmet rather than like
let me see.
the-
So once again, this is like a homunculi PowerPoint. I might have something in homunculi. Ignore this. So yeah, for a helmet wig, you are going to, if anyone wants to take photos, none of this stuff is done. This is once again stuff that I thought I was going to do a year ago. I didn't. To make a helmet wig, you are going to want to make a cast of your head. And what you're literally doing is you are taking saran wrap and you are duct taping your head. And what's actually really interesting, TD, I actually made a step-by-step process for how I made this wig on TikTok. So if you go to _sugar_peaches_ it was that enough _ God.
There it is.
There it is. I actually did a step-by-step. It's like 5 minutes. But it is a 5-minute tutorial on how I made actually this entire wig, and how to make a helmet wig and how to make buns and stuff like that. So,
which
it's
is
like,
like because then it's like done with like essentially a mold of your own head. Like
yeah.
no worries about like tightness or stuff.
No, it is a perfect mold of your head. Like this is, you're gonna like want to make sure that like your hair is up in a wig cap when you are making a cast of your head. So for this, like if I just like put this wig on without putting my hair up, it's gonna be too big. But if I put my hair up in a wig cap, it fits perfect because it is accounting for both my hair that is all the way up in a high ponytail and stuff like that.
But
Let me see if I have any progress photos I can leave you with before, like just sending you off to TikTok, which is a deserted evil land. Scary.
So typically for whenever I have to do like a helmet commission for somebody, I'll either have them make a cast of their own head and send it to me, or I will just go to wherever they are, we'll meet up somewhere and I will just go ahead and make a cast of their head. Very similar to like when you're sewing something with a non-stretch fabric, if it's to the same like structure that they are, there's no way that's gonna be either too big or too small because it's catered perfectly to that shape.
Yeah, but because like it's not like the wig cap, like is it any worries of like it falling off like if you turn your head or
it's
stuff?
really.
Not
I
at
don't
all.
even have to bobby pin
And-
whatever.
If you're
And
super
actually-
worried too, they do have these things called wig grips. They're like
I'm
headbands.
wearing
They're
one
kind of
those.
velvety. Your wig, I had a baggy wig that my ponytail was from here to the floor, and that did not move. I was comfortable.
She was roughhousing too.
I was jumping off the stairs, and that did not move it at all.
But yeah, these are those shells when I'm talking about helmet wigs and I'm like, ooh, the disgusting, the batting, and the piping, and the that is this. That is this homunculus. That is what those. Actually, yeah, no. This wig right here, this progress photo is actually. Oh God.
Jesus
awful.
Christ.
I'm getting flashbacks.
Jeez.
Some of us have bright contacts.
That is this finished. So you just take that disgusting homunculi shell and you just. I don't know how else to call it. I don't know what else to call it. Maybe it's just maybe that's just,
wig thing.
sorry, you can tell my feelings on styling helmet wigs from across room. That you can turn it into that. That is a perfect mold of your head. That is a very high ponytail. I actually wore that one last year.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I do remember.
yes,
that.
yes. I was Luffy.
You were
got
you
stuck
were in that group.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we are a little bit past our time at this point. Thank you guys so much for coming out. If you have any additional questions, I'll be down my booth for a little bit longer. So thank you guys for coming. This has been great.
Thank you guys for coming and chatting with us. All right, can somebody my packing will come carry these?
Oh, sweet.